9.8 is 26th out of 32 qualified quarterbacks. And yesterday here, Bart Scott categorized Mayfield in no uncertain terms.
He's the most replaceable quarterback, I think, in football right now. Listen, the Cleveland's only as faithful as their options. You can input anybody in there. We talk about, the flirtation between Aaron Rodgers, Mike Tomlin. I mean, could you imagine Aaron Rodgers on a squad like this? Nobody does less with more than Baker Mayfield. I want the listeners and the viewers just to do the exercise. Name me the quarterbacks around this league that you can replace and the Cleveland Browns are worse, right? Because I can go to like 20. They went in spite of him, not because of him. That's always been the narrative.
It's an interesting thought. It's sort of an interesting way to look at it. So, Sacho, I'll start with you. Is Baker Mayfield the guy or a guy in Cleveland?
Yeah, Baker Mayfield is the guy in Cleveland, but obviously he's playing with an injury. So right now he's playing like a guy, but long term, look at what he did last year. He started off early with a lot of turnovers. Then he got it together, and the team made the playoffs and won in the playoffs. And so when Baker Mayfield gets healthy, he is the guy. But this goes back to the issue of contracts. When do you sign a guy? What kind of contract do you sign a guy to? You wait and you see how he performs. We understand that Baker Mayfield is an unbelievable leader. But if you're a quarterback with a torn labrum, it's not about being the tough guy. It's about finding a way to get healthy and helping your team win. So Baker Mayfield is the guy in Cleveland. The only issue is he's not playing like it because of his injury.
Well, and Sacho brings up an interesting point. And we said there's a lot of pressure on Mayfield this year because everyone thinks his team is great and because he's got $100 and something million riding on that. How do we take the contract into consideration here?
They did engage Baker Mayfield in contract extension talks this offseason. They weren't able to come to an agreement. My understanding is the Browns do like Baker Mayfield and think they can win with him, but they have a number that they feel like if he wants more than that, then they might have to look elsewhere in the coming years. And to this point, he has wanted more than they've been willing to offer. So we'll follow this closely, and obviously his performance will go a long way toward determining what happens. They picked up the fifth-year option on his contract for 2022, which is fully guaranteed. So obviously they're committed to him through that year, but if they don't get the long-term deal signed, they could be looking around.
All right, fair enough. And there was something I just feel a need to say. And I don't know why I need to continue saying this because I've been saying it for years. But Nico, I'm looking right in the face. You're a linebacker, and yet I'm going to say this with you sitting right here. I've said it before. When there should be on every NFL stadium a helicopter hovering directly above the field. And the moment there is a turnover, a little rope ladder should drop down and the quarterback should be whisked away to safety like Tom Cruise in Mission Impossible. Any quarterback who makes a tackle in a game deserves what happens to him. I'm thinking about Andy Dalton, who, when he was having the best year of his career, got hurt making a tackle and never came back, and they lost. Look at that play. Andy Dalton was having the best year of his career. He never came back. Quarterbacks should not make tackles. Ninkovich, your thoughts?
I agree with you on that one, but Baker didn't make a tackle there. He got ran over. He got hit stick. Like, that wasn't a tackle. If you watch that thing, when I saw it, I said, whoa, oh my goodness, he got ran over. So, I mean, listen, you don't want your quarterback trying to attempt tackles.
But why is he even in the scrum? Why are you in the scrum?
Because he knows.
What's he doing?
That is not a tackle.
No, that's worse. That's my point. Quarterbacks aren't designed to make tackles. No. There's no reason for them to. Someone else is going to tackle. I get it. The quarterback feels bad. He's angry. He feels he's let his team down. Whisk him away to safety for his own good. Should they instruct quarterbacks to run off the field the minute the ball is turned over?
Well, I mean, I think that would soften up the game a little bit if you saw the quarterback throw an interception, just run off to the sideline there. But I like the attempt there. I like the attempt, the encouragement. But
it has ruined his season. It has ruined his season.
I would beg to differ. I think before
he's playing with a torn labrum.
Not in his throwing shoulder. Not his throwing shoulder.
You think that injury is not part of the reason that he is playing as mediocre football as he is?
Well, that injury happened, and he was playing mediocre before that injury.
Sacho, am I right or am I wrong, Sacho?
You are wrong. You are wrong. You are wrong. Let me give you an example. I remember when I was playing with the Bears, 2018, we had a punter, Pat O'Donnell, phenomenal punter. We had a punt return about to be scored on us. And for whatever reason, Pat O'Donnell was told, like you were told, hey, don't make the tackle. You are our punter. If there's any situation where something's happening, we need you to punt. And he didn't make the tackle. I'm sitting there like, dude, Pat, come on. We're trying to win the game. I respect Baker Mayfield and any quarterback who's going to try and help their team win the game. Unfortunately, in this scenario, it costs an injury. But at least get in the way. If you don't get run over, get in the way, slow him down, do something. You play to win the game.
Did he just bring up a punter? I mean,
Listen,
you could get
a friend
a
of mine-
punter.
A friend of mine, Pat McAfee's been on the show before.
Yes.
Let's not insult
I
the
love
punters here.
McAfee. But let me ask you a
I
question.
don't want punters to take offense, but
If
this is
either
not
Pat
comparable.
McAfee or Peyton Manning was going to make a tackle back in the days in Indianapolis, McAfee would have run in front of Manning. If Manning was trying to make a tackle in the game, McAfee would have taken the 15-yard penalty, run off the sideline, and stood in harm's way to keep Peyton Manning from getting
And the
hit.
Colts would have thanked him for it.
100%.
So, yeah,
and so
I
would
don't
every
think
football
it's-
fan everywhere.
Not quite the same thing with punter and quarterback.
I would say
As
not
the
quite
salaries
the same
indicate.
between Manning and Mayfield.
I've been saying
Fair
this
enough.
for years, and once again, I guess, like most geniuses, I will not be fully appreciated until after my time, but get the quarterback out of harm's way. As we continue in a moment, here's two quarterbacks who should make no tackles this weekend.
This is a significant night because Russell wasn't able to finish the second half. He's got a badly sprained finger that we need to figure out. There's work to be done in assessing all of that. Russell's one of the great healers of all time, and he'll do whatever he can to get back as soon as absolutely possible.
All right, and so first things first, Dan Graziano, what are we hearing about the finger?
Well, it's not good. I mean, there's concern in Seattle. He couldn't finish the game. And based on Russell Wilson's history, that tells you that this is not a matter of could he tolerate the pain. It's a matter of could he throw the ball? Could he grip the ball? And the answer turned out to be no. So they have 10 days, before their next game. So that's a good thing. And they were happy, obviously, with the way Geno Smith looked. But the fact that Russell Wilson, who's never, ever missed a game in 10 years in the NFL, couldn't finish this one is cause for concern.
He has the league's longest Iron Man streak, for what that's worth. They play Pittsburgh, as you say, a week from Sunday. Ninko, what does this injury mean for Seattle?
It looks like their season's not going to go the way they want it to. Impending doom, possibly, because he is basically that whole team. And when you lose him for possibly a few games here in that division, they can't afford to lose any more football games. So as a guy that has to grip that ball, you got to hang on to it. This is going to be a tough injury because a jam finger, especially the middle finger, he has to be able to grip that ball to be able to throw it.
You were telling us there's another position.
Yeah, the long snapper. So I long snapped for a long time, and that's the reason why they don't play other positions, because if you jam a finger, if you do something to a finger, that affects your ability to grip that football, and that's vital. To throw the football and snap it, you have to be able to grip it.
A week removed from a big sort of in the division win against San Francisco. Now all of a sudden we're in some trouble here, Sacho, and it's the division that's the problem, right?
It really is. Look at a team like the Arizona Cardinals, the only undefeated team in the NFL. They are rising and rising fast. We also know that San Francisco is a force to be reckoned with. And so, and the LA Rams are winning. And so, if you think about it, I'm a huge advocate of saying, hey, early games don't matter as much. They remember what you do in December. The only issue is when you're the Seattle Seahawks right now, you're at the bottom of the division. It's not getting any easier. So these losses, if Russell Wilson doesn't play, they matter, and they matter a lot. That's number one. Number two, to Nico's point, in practice, Bruce Arians was my coach. He would always say, stay away from the quarterback for reasons just like that. A quarterback hits his hand on a helmet or on a defender's hand, and now he's injured for a significant period of time. And so this is a huge deal, as we all know, for Russell Wilson, but an even bigger deal for the Seattle Seahawks.
And Graz, I don't mean to jump ahead by jumping backwards here, but I'm thinking back to this offseason of some discontent for Russell Wilson, and we were talking about, will the events of this year lead to his potentially leaving? How does that play into this conversation?
I think there's been a sense all along that if Seattle's season didn't go well and there was more Russell Wilson discontent beyond what we saw this past offseason, that it was possible he would not return there next year, that they would move on from him, trade him, etc. The one thing I don't think anyone did consider was the possibility that their season didn't go well because Russell Wilson got hurt. We've never seen that. So if that's the reason, you wonder how that affects those possibilities. But obviously, if this thing continues to spiral for Seattle, there could be big changes on that front in the offseason.
Absolutely. We have a lot to go before we get to that, so we'll figure that out as we go. And more on this game, but let's talk about another banged-up quarterback, and that's the one in Cleveland. So the Browns are 3-1, but it's not been a great start for Baker Mayfield. Week 2 against Houston, he injured his non-throwing shoulder making a tackle. Yesterday, we learned he has a partially torn labrum. So, through 4 weeks, Mayfield has completed just under 66% of his throws, 935 yards, just 2 touchdowns, 2 picks.